I'm Max, the employment law expert on Radio Live.
Are we obliged to sign a new job description every year?
Text here. So I run a medium-sized business using 90-day periods. Can I terminate without reason?
In the contract, it says they can reduce anything they want. Isn't that 0 hours contract?
The employee can choose not to come in, then guaranteed hours don't apply, correct?
I'll answer all the employment questions 8 to 9 p.m. every Wednesday.
You got the facts, so talk to Max.
It's Radio Live with Mike. That is the theme song to Max's Hour. Max Whitehead from the Whitehead Group. How are you?
Oh, very good. Pleased to be here.
Always a pleasure.
Isn't
to
that
have
a
you.
cool song?
It
Standard
is.
Deviation. I've got to get their name across.
Yes.
And they wrote that. I just very, very proud of that.
Yeah, they're a smooth band, all right, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like them. And it's New Zealand Music Month, so it's even better that you've got them on, you know.
Oh,
your
well,
own
there you
theme
go.
song. And they probably, you know, I don't know whether they get played anywhere else, do they?
Oh, my God, of course, they're everywhere.
Everywhere.
No, here's the special place.
Well, see, there you
who
go.
else would play Relax with Max? No, what is it? Got the facts? Talk to Max? Yeah. Yeah.
That just goes to show the heavyweight of you, Max, because not many bands would do that for somebody. So
People
you
didn't
obviously-
realise I'm a big guy, and you've just let it out of
I
the
know,
bag.
I
They
know,
all
I
think
have
I'm a
so.
skinny bloke on the radio.
Well, you're dealing with employment, so you've got to be heavy-handed sometimes. How's your week been anyway? What's been going on?
Ah, pretty good. Oh, there's lots going on. Actually, the life's picked up quite a bit. It's been quietish in the last few weeks, but suddenly today, or I don't know, I think my website suddenly lightens up, and then, of course, this show seems to help, but people start phoning in.
Right.
A lot of it doesn't turn to work. It just turns to giving out free advice all day, but that's part of my life, and makes me feel important. It's good for the ego.
Do I need to give
I
you
know
a
something
food
someone
voucher
else
when you
doesn't
leave?
go.
Yeah.
What's that?
Do I need to give you a food voucher when you leave? Giving out all this free advice.
Please, Mike.
Please.
Just a small one will
I
be
just
fine.
give free advice out all the time. I'm making no money. Well, I'll tell you what, you are here to give out more free advice over the next hour, so I can give you a free coffee for that in return, if that's all right. 0800 844 747, that is our number. Usually the board fills up fast, so get in nice and early. Also, you can text if you like. Use the keyword live and send those to 3920. So you deal with all sorts of situations, all sorts of employment issues, and if, you can't help them tonight, then he's very generous, folks, because what he does is he gives out his free phone number, 0800 24/7 93
Well
93.
done. Yeah, very cool.
Off the top of the head.
Yeah,
there
and
you go.
employers and employees are more than happy. Just give you some free advice. And tonight is better you're phoning because other people learn from what you're saying.
Which is fantastic, and that's what I've learned with you over the last few months, is that, when somebody has an issue, sometimes people listening go, actually, I'm in the same position. I never thought that I could get some advice.
But I'm getting a
and
little
move
bit
forward.
worried here because you're picking up on all this information. You know the answers before I even tell them.
Yes, yeah, I do.
Yeah,
I do.
I'm going to go out of job soon.
Oh, I doubt that, Max.
No, you'll be sitting here. No, I'll do the employment hour tonight. We'll check you out later on because I've got to say to the next caller, I'll say, now, Mike, do you know the answer to that?
Okay, well, let's put that to the test, shall we? We'll put
really?
it to the
You're
test.
always
There
up
you
for
go.
it, aren't you, man? You're
First
good with
caller. Okay, well, give us a call, 0800 844 747.
Yeah, test Mike out. Make it a tricky one, please. Restraint of trade's always something to scratch your head over.
Jeez, yes, isn't it? Okay, so something else we do as well is we bring you Be the Judge. So this is a situation that we put to you that has occurred in employment, and then you can be the judge. You will either ask you some questions or you can decide what should happen in the situation. It's just a bit of fun to have, so everybody can play the game. Let's go, Max. What have you got for us tonight?
Right, we're down the ports again. Last week we did one at the ports. This one's the ports of Auckland. And I've been down there, actually. I was the employment relations manager for a while, so I actually know some of the players here, so it's quite interesting to me.
Oh, I bet.
So down there's a guy called Carl Finley. Now, Carl was the president of the Maritime Union, so he's a big guy. He marches around with a fair bit of authority. The unions down there are quite powerful, as you probably know, over all the disputes they had. So on the 30th of July 2016, Mr. Finley, as we'll call him, had an argument in the workers' mess with Mr. Rua. Now, Mr. Rua was a co-worker and was a member of the opposing unions. I don't know if you watch the news a bit, there's a bit of a battle going on there between unions. One, and this opposing union's called Port Pro. So in other words, they're pro-employer, and the other one's let's stand up to the employers. So remember those disputes? They had got very, very bitter.
Yes.
They had a breakaway union out of that, and these guys are still standing off. So let's get into it. They're having a bit of an argument, these guys. Now, Mr. Finley suggested the demands of the roster system that Mr. Rua had supported had contributed to the deaths of 2 port workers. Now, that's pretty heavy. These are colleagues and friends, so you can imagine the emotion got up pretty quickly there. And the argument became very, very heated. And it's alleged that Mr. Finley said to Mr. Rua, you'll be the next one in the box.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Now, the complaint was raised with the port management, And the management then, this is the CEO, he's quite famous as well. You see him in the media with all that dispute that was going on. He engaged an independent investigator. He wanted to get this right, and he didn't want to show any bias because obviously that union and him had not seen eye to eye in the past. So 5 months later, the investigator tables a report. And in that report, it said that Mr. Finlay was a bad guy, and that they should, in terms of investigate it further, and disciplinary action should be called. So the CEO called Mr. Finlay to a disciplinary investigation meeting, and during that meeting he said to him if he denied making a death threat. Now, what happened? Mr. Finlay stood up with his union and marched out of that meeting saying, this is a new matter, we weren't aware this is going to come up, and just stormed out of the meeting.
Okay. Wow. Geez, the tension's pretty high.
Oh, absolutely. But, you know, to me, that's sort of like a bit of a kindergarten stuff. But anyway, it did happen. And then they went off. I'll tell you what they did. They took it to the Employment Authority.
Okay.
They took it very seriously. Now, the authority heard this. I won't go into all the detail because we went on and on and on, the authority decision. And the authority decided that the court will be ordered not to take any further disciplinary action against Mr. Finlay until they could have a full hearing. Now, that would take months away. Now, the court, which is not in love with the union or perhaps the Employment Authority either at this stage, then took it to the Employment Court and appealed it.
Okay.
So, folks, what I want you to do, what would you do if you were the judge on the court? Because that's what I want to hear, what people really want to do. So let's go back over it. Can I just do it again, Mike?
Yes, yeah, by all means.
Just to try and encapsulate
No,
it
well, there's a bit of information for everyone to suck in, so, you know, it's good.
It is a bit. So Mr. Finlay has an argument in the workers' mess, with the opposing union guy, and makes some pretty heavy allegations regarding him causing his roster causing the death of two guys.
What do you mean when you say workers' mess?
Like the cafeteria.
Oh, okay.
Down the port,
right.
by the way, they've got huge lounges, they've got TVs playing all everywhere, pool room. It's just luxury down there for those guys. Wow. It's pretty comfortable.
Okay.
And it's a real... Anyway, and then he said to this guy, it's alleged, he said to this guy, you'll be next in the box, next one in the box. Now then it goes to a disciplinary process, and the disciplinary meeting said, did you make a death threat? And he's taken umbrage to that. So the Employment Authority said that's not good enough. You've got to stop all further investigation till we've heard this matter properly, which could take a couple of months, and there'll be days of hearing. And then they've taken that to the Employment Court and said that's too much of a harsh judgment by the authority. What would you do if you're court? Would you uphold that judgment and say you've got to hold off for a couple of months? Or would you say to them, with that judgment's poor, let them carry on with their investigation disciplinary process, and you can come back if anything falls out of that?
Well, I would personally...
Here we go, yes.
Yeah, here we go.
Yeah.
I would personally let them continue with their investigation. That's what I would do. I wouldn't say, hey, no, don't keep investigating this. I would say, no, by all means, you go away, you try and sort it out yourselves, and then come back to us, the Employment Authority. If further action needs to be taken, that's what I would have done, would have let them sort it out themselves. So that's what I would do.
So look, a couple of things within that. You know, you've got to see it from the union's perspective and Mr. Finlay's perspective as well, is that he assumes that the CEO of the port is probably biased against him. The long time's gone already past and not much has been done about it. And that escalated it from an allegation of saying you're going to be next in the box to a death threat. Is quite a jump, and he's saying that was unjust. So, folks, I want you to think about it. Mike's given his views. Don't you all agree with him all the time? I know you do, but this occasion you've got to put your views across. If you're strong enough to do that, ring in. Mike doesn't mind.
No, I don't know. And look, and that's the thing I've noticed here, that they don't always
disagree with you.
Yes, you're right. People disagree all the time. It's good, though. It gives robust discussion.
It does.
But be next in the box, though, that to me is kind of like a death threat, isn't it?
Mr. Finlay actually says in his evidence he didn't deny saying it, but he didn't say it with an intent of a death threat.
Right. Well...
Well,
you say things like that, it's a death threat.
Well, you know, robust workplaces, you say rugged things at times. This is a pretty tough, predominantly male, there's females in that environment too, environment down there, and there's some hard men, real hard men in that area.
I mean, I wouldn't have taken his supposed death threat seriously, but it's still a death threat. Be the next one in the box. That's like if I said to a cop, well, you'll be the next one in the box, mate. If I was standing near a coffin, then they would think that that was a death threat, wouldn't
and,
they?
you know, to support you, the feelings are very high down there, very high. So a death threat, some of the workers down there would say that's
Right.
Could have been real.
Right. Well, a bit of tension going on in the ports, isn't
I tell you
there?
what, when I was down there,
such a beautiful spot too in Auckland.
This union guy,
prime land.
This union guy takes me down to an obscure end of the. There's two cafeterias. There's two flash cafeterias. I go down to the second one, and he goes, "Come with me. Let me show you around." And by the way, Mr. Whitehead, don't you dare come down here disciplining our workers. We do the disciplining, all right?
Oh, gosh.
Come down to the locker room. Sit down in the locker room. He said, "See that hole up in the ceiling? Yep. That's a bullet hole."
Oh my God.
We sort things out here, and I'll deny if we're responsible for that, but everything gets sorted.
Oh my God.
The stories,
Oh, wow.
including, well, they've been known to put guys and lock them in their car when they thought they came to work drunk, and so the boss couldn't see them. But then that's sort of a comradeship, looking after your buddy sort of thing. But
Well, that's where unions kind of started, isn't it? I'm not too sure, but just from what I've gathered over the years,
right.
unions started at the ports, really, didn't they?
1934
you
strike
go.
and the
Yep.
cops coming with horses and
Yep.
whatever to break it up. It was a very bitter battle.
Wow.
If you go into the Maritime Union rooms, into their, they own a building. It's a high-rise, and down near Queen Street. You go up the stairs, all the photographs are on the side of the stairs of that dispute.
Wow.
They're so proud. They're so proud they were staunch and stood up to the management in those days.
Good grief. I know there's some certainly...
There was government laws passed to try and get through that.
Yeah, tough times, wasn't it?
Oh.
But shaped our future, I guess, for better or for worse, not sure. 17 past 8, it's Radio Live, 0800 844 747. You be the judge in the situation. So the questions we're asking after you've heard this: was the authority right to stop the investigation? If you were the judge, would you support the Employment Authority's decision preventing the port from completing its disciplinary investigation until a full hearing? So I would say no, I don't support the Employment Authority's decision, but you might think otherwise.
You know what? You put that so well, so succinctly. I was trying to do it before. You did it so much better. Well done, Mike.
Thank you.
I'm keeping you on.
18 past 8, it's Radio Live. Also, have you got any employment issues going on that you need Max's help for? Give us a call or send us a text. Use the keyword live and send those to 3920. It's Radio Live, 18 past 8.
Nights with Mike Perdue. Have your say.
0800 844 747.
0800 This Is Live.
It's Radio Live with Mike and Max, the M&M Show. We
The
like to
M&M
call
Show,
it the
yes.
M&M Show. Max Whitehead offers advice on employment situations, has been doing so for years, runs a company called the Whitehead Group, which of course has helped out thousands of people over the years, and he comes in here for free and helps you out. And we've got a really good question too that I want to put to you from somebody who's texted in.
Yeah.
By the way, if you are too shy to ring, by all means use text, because I know a lot of people think, oh, I don't want to ask Max about some things going on at work in case someone recognises the voice. So use the keyword live at the start of your text, leave a gap and send those off to 3920. We just gave you be the judge about a dispute down at the ports. Nothing new, a dispute at the ports.
No,
Is there?
it's history. That's
Yep.
Expected. Part of the job, yeah.
I was fascinated when you were talking about the setup that they've got down there, their sort of common
Well, they
waiting
sit around
rooms.
sometimes waiting for the next ship to come in.
Right.
And of course they argue and put their rosters up to sort of, there's a maximum time of sitting around, but that's arguable, I guess, now. So they make it very, very comfortable.
Oh, nice.
And they try to keep, I was part of management down there for a while, keep them busy so they're comfortable and happy and they're not, angry. So that's why, pool tables are very helpful, and dartboard, and, just...
Employers don't have to provide those sorts of facilities for your staff, do you?
No. But the ports
Wish they
really,
did.
as much as the union don't think they do, they try to look after them to
Right.
some degree. And they're paid reasonably well. I
Okay.
think, again, the union would argue that, but they are. And they work, all around the clock, those guys. And some of the work is very physically hard.
I bet.
The most cushy job is a crane driver, if you like. You're sitting in a cab. But imagine responsibility with that.
Yes, true.
And
Thousands
skilled.
and thousands of dollars worth of freight you're dealing with every minute.
Yeah. And those-
Tens of thousands.
Oh, what do you call those big things that cart the containers around? They just pick them up. Oh, gantry cranes? No, they've got a name.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know what you mean.
That's
Yeah.
probably one of the most common jobs they have down
Right.
there. And the guys who shackle the containers and whatever, they've got a pretty hard job because that's physically risky. You can get your arms caught into things, and they chain them into ships and things like that. So they're in the hulls
Oh,
with
yes,
those
they're
big
tough.
containers coming around. Yeah.
Yeah, big job. Okay, well, somebody sent in a text
Oh,
that
yes.
says, and this is in response to you be the judge, they go, hi guys, to be honest, I feel like 5 months is way too long. If I'd been the judge, I would have told them to stop behaving like children and get back to work.
Whoa!
Thanks, Si.
He might be right with it. He might be wrong.
Right, okay, well, we'll find out
Good
later
idea.
on.
We'll make him the judge. We'll put a bloody curly top on him and a big wig, and
Away he goes.
Yeah.
Yep. Si, you're right on the money there, we think. We'll find out a little later on. We'll find out what the decision of the courts were in the situation a little later on. But also here is an employment question. This is a good one, actually.
Okay.
My previous company accidentally paid me 2 months' salary even though my contract was terminated. I was unaware of the payments. Now they are asking for the money back. They are an Australian company. Where do I stand?
I like the emphasis on Australian company. It's as if to say us Kiwis have got the money. No.
Pretty much, yeah. Australian company, they're muck up, tough titty.
Convert it to New Zealand currency and then send them. No. Well, I guess we better get serious on this. The employer can require you to send that money back. They could actually invoice you for it because you have been overpaid and you've got that money and you shouldn't have.
Right.
You can ask for an arrangement in terms of paying them back. So it could be trickle feed, because I take it you've got a mortgage or rental or those sort of things, and you didn't know the money was there, so you may have spent it. So you could say to the Australian company, well, I'm happy to pay trickle feed on, maybe it's $25 a week or something, and slowly put the money back to them that way. And make the offer to them, but the reality is there they can demand it and come at you for that money.
Even though they are Australian?
Did you say that?
I did.
Yeah. I wouldn't have. I bet you're brave.
You look at the way the Australian government looks after Kiwis that move over there.
Good point.
It's like, wow, tough.
I tell you what, we shouldn't do this, but tell one of the callers I'll send it to one of my cousins over there who's broke and got nothing, and he'll pay you when he's ready.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, do that. Do that, whoever sent that text in. Or ring them and tell them that your cousin's in Australia is terminally ill and is not entitled to any health care. So until he gets health care, you won't be getting your money back.
Oh, man, you're inciting violence here.
I am. No, so seriously.
Aussie bashing.
Yeah.
Aussie bashing.
That's all right.
Eminem show's changed its theme.
Yeah, they take it. They give it. They take it.
It's true.
So seriously, though, they can ask for the money back, but if he likes, you can enter into a repayment plan.
Yep, yeah. And that's got to be sort of on comfortable terms for you. So you can do what you more or less like, but make sure you are paying it back, because you can't, then the debt collector can't come at you.
Right, so can they send a debt collector if they're an Australian company?
It is a debt. I believe it technically can be a debt. I'm not a commercial lawyer, but I believe that they can say, yes, you owe us money and we're coming after you for it.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you so much for that text. Okay, here's another one. Max, is it okay for management to put cameras in smoko rooms? What are the health and safety rules for smoko rooms, e.g. hygiene? So do you want to have a wee think about that? Because I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll go to Tim. We can answer his call. We'll come back to that text in a minute.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Tim, good evening. How are you?
Yeah, not bad. Yourself?
Yeah, good. Thanks for ringing.
How are you, Tim?
Yeah, Matt. Yeah, how you going, buddy?
Good, man.
Yeah, I've got a good question that I've been wondering about for quite some time, and I thought it might stump old Mike.
Good man. Good man.
Oh, he's playing this game.
Really,
okay.
lay it on, buddy. I want a really hard question.
Yeah,
Come on.
away you go, Tim.
Now, I got basically quite a few years ago, my first job, I was working in a sawmill, and I got employed as on a casual, it was a casual contract, right?
Yep.
So the 3-month contract, temporary contract.
Mm-hmm.
Once that has lapsed, now I have to admit they sort of screwed me when they got the pretty office lady to come over, say that they lost my contract and I needed to sign another one, so I signed another 3-month contract. After that, I was basically working with no contract.
Mm-hmm.
Would I be eligible for full-time rates as well as holiday pay after that contract had lapsed? Because I'm pretty well aware that if you don't actually have a contract as such that's signed by both parties, you're basically a full-time employee under general employment.
Wow, Mike, you're on, buddy.
Wow.
Let's see what he says. It's quite complicated. There's a few things in that, Tim.
So I think the first thing that's gone wrong here is the fact that there weren't 2 signed copies of the contract. So that, I think...
Well, no, there were 2 signed copies, but once after the time had lapsed of the 3-month contract, then you're not technically on a contract, so you'd go back to the standard contract, which would be technically a full-time employment.
Okay. So, and they claim that they lost the contract.
Yeah, I know. That was just a pretty office lady getting me to sign an extra contract.
right,
I'm not arguing about that
Very,
at all.
very effective means of getting you to sign, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was quite effective. I was also very young and naive too, because as I say, it was a long time ago.
Yep.
But my whole thing is that after that, I worked there for 3 years.
Yeah.
And only for the last 6 months of my employment did I have a full-time contract. The first 6 months I was under the 3-month trial contract.
Yeah, right. I see what you're saying. So the months in
So
between.
there's 2 years.
Yeah.
2 years in between. What am I eligible for?
Yeah, well, geez, you know what, Tim? You've actually gone and done it. You have stumped me. I can't answer this one.
God, he's usually right onto it, guys. So
Yes.
let me help out
Okay,
here.
Max, there you go. You take
Okay.
over. Sorry,
Yeah,
Tim.
thank you very much, because I have been wondering about this for a very long time.
So it sounds like, Tim, you have a fixed-term employment agreement for 3 months. That lapses, then the pretty lady gets you to sign another one for 3 months. Then that lapses. And your question is, am I entitled to full pay? Am I entitled to holiday pay thereafter? And the answer to that is yes. Now, while the employment law says that employers got to provide you with a written contract, the law also recognises that you do have a contract even though it's not in writing. So if you started working for somebody and the terms and conditions just start to evolve, they are deemed to be contractual. And that's where you could say, after your 3 months, that you're on an implied, well, probably based on the 3 monthly contracts. Now, the other assumption is right too. If you've been doing 3 months, another 3 months, same terms and conditions, you could claim that you're on a full-time employment agreement, even though it's not in writing, and your employer could dispute it as well. But if you've set a set pattern for all that period of time, as you did, you've got a very, very strong argument, and I think you would probably win it to argue that you're on a full-time employment agreement.
Okay, now just one other question, and I know that my time has lapsed for a comeback on this, right? Not only that, the business has since been sold off and whatever's happening to it, but just for the other people out there, how long do I have to fall back on that? Like, so how long, after, like if I realise 5 years later, 6 years later, 10 years later, 15 years later, that I could actually have an argument to receive something.
Yeah, there's a statute of limitations, and also...
and I know I'm out of that.
Yeah, but you're going to probably have a wage claim, wouldn't you be? You couldn't raise a personal grievance. You're way beyond that. So, but if it's a wage claim, you probably can go back to maybe 6 years, I think.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, but if you laid a personal grievance and laid it and then left it, it's only 3 years you can actually go.
Yeah, I would have thought it was 7 years because that's what they have to have all their paperwork on the books
Well,
for.
I tell you what, I'm not too sure. 6 or 7. One's the taxation issue, and the other one's just normal employment issue. So you might be right. It's a long time back. Yeah, anyway.
I just thought I'd bring that up, and I just thought it was a good question because I mean this is going back, almost 20 years ago.
God, you're that old. Didn't you sound like a young fella, Mike?
He does.
Yeah, you sound about my age.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, well, I suppose I do. But no, I just...
I bet you're as skinny as me too.
Yeah, pretty much. But I just thought I'd bring those questions up because I think that those are a lot of things that, like, I've learnt now that I actually did have a standing back then.
Yeah.
And
Do you know, Tim, I didn't answer one of your other questions, and that is, am I entitled to holiday pay? And the answer is yes. No one can deny you that.
You did answer that.
Oh, did I? Okay.
But yeah, you did. But at the time, as I say, I was young and naive. It was before I turned 20 that I left the job. So it was my first job.
How many years ago did you say it was? 20 years ago. He's 50.
No.
48 or something.
35. I started there when I was 16.
Okay.
Wow.
I said almost 20 years ago.
Oh, my maths are too good.
You worked there for 3.5 years, something like that. So I was almost 20 when I left.
Oh,
Good on you, Tim.
And I really appreciate that, Tim. You're right, because there are probably people in similar situations that don't know that they have recourse. So to get the time right, to get the situation out there as well is really handy for
everyone. The
everyone.
thing I really wanted to get out there really is just young fellas, just be very wary on pretty young office ladies coming down and saying, we've lost your contract.
Tim, I can tell you one thing. You've been our best caller tonight.
They don't lose your contract.
I love it, Tim. Hey, good on you, mate. You have a good night. Thank you so much. It's Radio Live with Mike and Max, 27 to 9. Thank you very much.
Caught me by surprise.
I
I
know,
was
sorry about that.
listening to that and trying to figure out how many my former employers I could take through the... No, I wasn't.
No,
You were
no.
so.
No, I wasn't.
Yes, you were.
No, I loved all of my previous
Oh, I
employers.
can see you going through CVs, buddy, all that stuff, your pay slips.
How have you been anyway?
Yeah.
Good?
I've had a wonderful 2 days catching up with family on the East Cape coast.
Oh, beautiful.
Over
Yeah.
in, well, actually, Wairoa, which is a little bit inland and a little bit organic. But, that's
When I was in the
family.
freezing works industry, I took a whole gang of guys over there, the Waiwara freezing works.
Yeah, it's funny you should use the word gang, though.
Different type of gang.
No,
We went by Taupo and the guy said, can we drop in for lunch? Yeah. So I took him to a nice restaurant and I had a whole carload of these union guys and they were tough buggers. Well, they were filling their pockets up with oysters. They loved the things. They were ordering more. I didn't realise what they're up to. And then we're in the car and they're imagine these soggy oysters in their pockets. Eating them in the car. They wanted to bring a half dozen packs so I could drink it in the car as well, so I had to stop that.
jeez.
Case. Well, we had a lot of laughs, I've got to say.
yeah.
I did enjoy it.
I've been watching lots of Netflix and nothing has been quite as vivid as your story just was.
You want to work in a freezing works? So Mike's parents,
Yes,
they have
yes.
some fun, man. It's
Yeah, they
really
do.
good humour.
Most of my family in Wairoa, well, I wouldn't say much. Yeah, most of them are at the works there.
Is
Or
it
they-
still going? Is that works over there? It was an
Yeah, I think so.
Avco,
It's-
wasn't it?
Yeah, one of the problems is that all of that area is out by Waikato Moana, where my whānau is actually from. I've got
Yeah.
2 branches. There's Kahununu over in Wairoa and then the Tūhoi lot up in Waikato Moana. There's been a lot of slips in that region because of Cyclone Cook. So the roads from Waikato Moana to Wairoa are a bit dodgy at the moment. A lot of people have been given unrostered days off. you know.
Oh, okay.
Well, no, that's not. Yes, it is true. But no,
Unrostered
Wairoa
days
is
off.
one of the most beautiful, underrated towns in this country.
What, Wairoa?
Yeah,
Oh.
with the river running through it. It's
Oh,
just
yes, yes,
beautiful.
yes.
Oh, nice.
The weather, it's crazy. There's a little lake, Tūtira Lake, that you drive past on the way from Napier Airport through to Wairoa. Because we don't drive 7 hours there, darling. We fly. And
Oh, I say.
and there's this and
Newsreaders must get paid well.
in autumn, when the air is still crystal clear, crisp, and there's
yeah,
that
it's
special
fresh.
light in the sky, but all the leaves on the trees are different, and Wairoa and that whole stretch of country in Hawke's Bay, you can see
Beautiful.
why people like Paul Holmes and that all tootled off
Talk
over
about
to that
vivid
part.
descriptions. My
That is
oysters and
nice.
pockets doesn't sort of match the, lovely
The
golden.
picture there of
no.
Wairoa.
Yeah,
No,
but I
you're
got
right.
smell-o-vision from yours. Anyway,
Yeah.
thank you. Nice
Hey,
to be back.
nice to be back, Araha. It is 23 to 9. Brings me nicely, actually, to what I wanted to talk about with you, Max. The sad news today that people will be losing their jobs, and a silver plant firm in Fairton, that's just
Silver Fern,
north
yeah. It
of
was.
Ashburton.
Yeah.
So they reckon quite a few of them, all of them, 370 jobs on the chopping block. Tough times for a small
Oh, it was.
place,
I was
isn't
the
it?
employment relations manager at Waitra when they down offlaid, I think it was 400 workers, maybe more. We went down from 3 chains to 1 chain. So, not everyone understand what that means, but that's 2/3 of the work's gone. And it was a small town just devastated by it.
Yes.
So we had an town impact committee onto it and all sorts of things. And I can never forget Brian Cuff was the manager and he gave a speech. There was 600 men in that room and he held them riveted. And when he finished, there was a pause like there is now. And then they clapped him right through. Because he said, we're going to keep this works going. It might be smaller, we're just going to make it happen. He just
Wow.
really built them up. And,
Oh, nice.
yeah.
Well, because I guess the poor people that work here, my mum and dad have gone through this before, and, being meat workers as well, strikes and plants closing down. What happens to the 370? When you say redundancy, do they get enough money to survive for at least a couple of months? What is it
was
like?
kind of sad. The local marae called me in and we had a discussion. They said, we want our people to contribute. They're going to get redundancy money. So in those days they were paid quite well, but it's not enough. It's just part of a year's pay. He said, we're asking them to contribute to the marae and then we're going to go off and buy forestry so we can get some work for them.
Oh, wow.
And so
Okay.
that was the plan. And then he came back to me, he said, no, they went off and bought boats and caravans and just was all gone within months.
Right.
And then they were broke and then, were looking for work and it was hard to find in Waitra. They went through New Plymouth and a lot of people moved out of the area. It was kind of sad.
What do you think these guys here will get? I guess Silver Fern Farms, you know, what is the average? Is it 3 months redundancy, or is it different for every employer?
Well, they have a calculation like 6 and 2, so it's roughly, I don't know what is in Silver Fern's calculation. I'm sure their unions have been looking after them, but 6 and 2 means 6 weeks for first year of service and 2 weeks pay for every year thereafter.
Okay.
So it depends on your service that you've done.
And some of them have been there for years, you know.
Oh, yeah. Well, your parents would know them. There's some generations after generations been in freezing work.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
And, you know, huge impact, I guess, for the local economy as well, because all of a sudden you got a whole lot of people that aren't contributing to, you know, that extra spend up in the weekend, the trip down to the hardware store, the flowers for the funeral, you know, where money's tight, you stop doing all of that, don't you?
You do.
Then before you know it, shops close down, house prices dip, no one wants to live in the town anymore because nothing's going on, and it just becomes a ghost town with one petrol station.
Exactly, so it's more than a loss of a job, it's the whole community falls flat. It just disappears, and people, it's a dramatic change for their life, absolutely dramatic.
And, you know, we discussed this last night, how hard it is for people to find jobs. You know, if they've been in an industry for a very long time, you've got to move to where that industry is thriving. But the meatworks, you know, they seem to be getting fewer and fewer in between.
There is.
Because
How
of the
do
way
they
we've
transfer?
changed. Yeah.
You know, those are highly skilled. The guys on knives, it's they really are highly skilled, and they really put. Where do they take those skills again? They might go to a corner butcher shop, but they get filled up pretty quickly, and so it's very, very hard for them to move on and get something similar.
That's because a lot of the farms as well have changed to dairy farms, so therefore there's no, you know, there's no need for a meatworks. So doing it tough, I'm sure those people
Building houses, but I guess it takes a long time to teach someone how to be a builder. So that's why I believe there's a big lag at the moment. We need that skilled labour now.
Well, best of luck to everybody in Fairton. Sorry to hear that
Yeah,
news.
we're sorry.
It is. Radio Live, 19 to 9. 0800 844 747 if you got a question for Max. We'll come back to that text in a minute.
Two texts as well? Oh, that was
about
one.
the cameras in smoko rooms and the health and safety rule for smoko rooms regarding hygiene and general practice. We'll give you an answer to that straight after this. If you have a question, you're welcome to text as well. Use the keyword live and send those to 3920 19 to 9.
Nights with Mike Puru. 0800 This Is Live.
It's Radio Live with Mike and Max Whitehead, your employment issues, and we're still here for the next 15 minutes. So if you've got any issues going on, you want some free advice, now is the time to phone 0800 844 747. People like texting too, because sometimes they don't like their voice to be heard, but that's fine, you can do that. Max, is it okay for management to put cameras in smoko rooms? And what is the health and safety rule for smoko rooms, e.g. hygiene?
Well, first off, the camera thing, yes, it is okay for them to do that, provided that everybody knows it's there. We don't want to get into this discussion again, but certainly, yeah, it's fine. And I think what we in this world, we've got to accept that we've been filmed everywhere we're going anyway.
Yeah.
So, and look, take some peace from it. The employer isn't watching it every day, every hour. So they really got it in there in case something happens. And it's for their protection. Yes, it is there for their protection rather than yours. But you could also demand to have footage. So if you're an employee and something's happened in that tea room and you're not happy about it, you can actually ask the employer, say, I'm on that footage. I want to see it, please. And you have a right to have it made available to you.
Right. So I guess people would assume they're just in there to see if they're taking longer smoko breaks than usual. You know, so they can go to them in a couple of weeks and go, well, I've watched you for the last 2 weeks. You know, you're taking 5 minutes extra on your smoko break. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. I've seen the footage. So I guess that's why people...
Well, I've had that. I had it in a supermarket where they had the camera in the cafeteria, and they measured how often this guy was in there.
Right.
And then dug it all up and sent it to him and said, this is how long you've been off work. This is, you've been out of the off the floor. You should be on the floor more often. Yeah, and it was pretty hard to argue, I would say.
Well, pretty much.
He was moseying around chatting to someone. Someone would leave and move off and go and move to someone else, and he just kept cruising around the tea room yakking to everybody.
Okay, so they have to let you know that it's there. So if it's never been there before, the practice is they'll send an email, group-wide email going just to let you know there is a security camera in the smoko room. So everyone's got to be aware that it's there. Obviously, it can be used if they need, but you can demand a recording. What's the logistics with the hygiene?
All right.
Safety
just
rules.
in terms of the camera, one more thing.
Yes.
If things are going missing and there's a good reason, they could put covert cameras in.
Okay.
But it's got to be damn good reason to justify it. But getting back to health and safety as you would expect it. It is probably on a higher standard, being a cafeteria where there's food being handled. So all those standards would probably go as health and safety, probably like a cafeteria, a cafe. So that you shouldn't be handling food with your hands, and the food should be the rubbish bin shouldn't be too near the food. All those little things you don't think about, which are actually common sense, really, the boss should be actually adhering to as well. Making sure that your cups and saucers are clean, those sort of things that are available for you. The sugar doesn't have mouldy bits in it, that sort of thing.
What if the cups and saucers, this is such a ridiculous question, but what if the cups and saucers that you use, the dishes in your workplace, are your responsibility? So no one's actually in charge of the smoko room, and it is filthy.
No, that's not ridiculous. That's a good question.
Because everybody else is not pulling their weight.
And that happens a lot.
Yes, it happens in just about every business.
Oh, women, I feel sorry for them. The workplaces I've been in the past, they said they just leave it to us women. All the guys do, they just wander off and just leave their cups and things around. The employer should ensure that things are clean.
Right.
So if, and it's unfair to leave it to one individual, but certainly they could give instructions. Part of your responsibility is to make sure that tea room's clean. When I was an apprentice, that was what I had to do at Stanners Motors in Eltham. I had to clear the tea room out. I had to mop the floor and clean the tables and then set it up for tea and then clean it down afterwards.
Right, so someone's got to be responsible.
Yeah, and it's up to an employer to make sure that things are clean and tidy in that tea room.
Okay, nice. Sweet. Well, I've got another text here. Hi, Mike and Max, the M&M Show. At my work, I do 4 10-hour shifts a week and have so for the last 3 years. My question is regarding sick pay and annual leave. We get 40 hours sick pay a year, meaning 4 days off a year, when everyone else gets 5. Should I get 5 days, or are they correct? Second, regarding annual leave, if we have leave owing and want time off, we must take pay and can't choose unpaid to save our holidays. Is this correct? Thanks.
2 good questions. In terms of the sick pay, what the Act deals with, the Holidays Act deals with sick pay, and it says that you're entitled to 5 days of sick days. Not done in hours, it's days. So you're working 10-hour shifts. So then you're entitled to 10 hours sick pay. It's paid at the relevant daily pay. So you're entitled to that. Again, it's not done in hours. But although...
So is that right, though? So we get 40 hours sick pay a year?
That would be right then.
Okay.
Because it's 4 times, they do 4 times 10 hours, so
yes.
That would be right.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
And it does get tricky when people take part days of sick days. So, you had to go and see the doctor, so you just take a half day off. That's fine, and that's allowed. And the next question was leave owing to you, wasn't it?
Yes. So, secondly, regarding annual leave, if we have leave owing and we want time off, we must take pay and can't choose unpaid to save our holidays. So if you...
Oh, I see.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So
the
if you
answer
take...
that's no. Sorry, Mike, I'll cut you off there.
Yeah,
Let me just make sure I understand that. But what I understand you're saying is that you've got leave owing and you want to save that up for something and you're going to take another day off. Can you say to the boss, hey, I would like to take that day off, but I don't want to be paid for it? The employer can only force you to take holidays. They can force you, but provided they give you 14 days notice.
Right. So what if when you apply for your holiday, they give you that piece of paper and you have the option to tick unpaid or paid leave? If you've got unpaid leave owing, then you want to save those days because you want to use them for a holiday later. Can you tick the paid leave box?
Yeah, but then it's at the discretion of the boss if he lets you go.
Okay, right.
So they could say no. If you want unpaid leave, he could say no, or she could say no, you're not allowed to go.
Right, so it's their call.
Their call, really. But in terms of forcing you, if you're going to take some leave and forcing you to take holidays, they have to give you 14 days notice.
Okay, nice. Okay, good. Well,
it's not nice. It's not the answer he probably wanted to hear.
No, not what he wanted to hear at all, I don't think. Okay, well, thank you so much for your text, though. We'll take a break, come back, got a couple more questions to get through before this hour ends. It's Radio Live with Mike and Max, the M&M Show.
The M&M Show.
Yes, your employment law. It is 9 to 9.
Mike Puru.
Radio Live Evening Talk.
0800 This Is Live.
It's Radio Live with Mike and Max, the M&M show on a Wednesday, your employment issues. So we've got another text coming in here. Good evening, Mike and Max. M&M, they've called us.
Oh, done.
Nice,
well, that's
thank you.
working.
It is working. After texting last week regarding disciplinary meetings about speaking up about health and safety concerns, they even took it one step further. We've been muzzled and we aren't allowed to send emails about health and safety concerns. What is the university hiding? So I don't know what university he's talking about. Probably wise that we don't mention it if we did anyway, because we might get muzzled too. But what's going on there? Why isn't he allowed to, bring forward his concerns on health and safety? So what are they trying to hide
That's
there?
disgraceful behaviour. A university of all things. I hope that's the real reason behind it. You've been muzzled. You've been muzzled. That's disgraceful.
Mm-hmm.
You not only have a right to raise health and safety, you have an obligation to. So in law, if you fail to identify a potential hazard in a workplace, you could be held accountable. And if your employer is stopping you from doing that, I think there's a grave concern here. So I would think that you're almost disadvantaged in your workplace. Maybe you ought to contemplate taking an action for disadvantage. You're not going to get a lot of money out of it. It's going to cost you to take it if you get someone to represent you, but you probably could do it yourself. I think I know who's sent this in, Mike. Mm-hmm. He's a very capable, intelligent man. I think he probably could take it further.
Is it something the media would be interested in? Because gagging and these sorts of
in a university particularly, maybe it could be.
Yeah.
Pete, whoever it might be, talk to me tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a good point, Mike. I think Mike's amazed. God, he's bloody onto it, this Mike. I think we ought to think about that, because if you've been gagged, that is horrific.
Yes, we're like the fair go of employment around here. Yeah, if you can't get any action sorted with Max and,
Look at the
employers.
government's introduced massive legislation to beat up employers for bloody doing it, and to be gagged by a government university, who are supposed to be the deep knowledge and concerned and looking after people. It just doesn't make sense.
No, you're right. No, so maybe we get some action that way. Okay, one more text. I had a workplace accident a month ago. My wrist is slow healing. How long can my boss hold my job open?
Oh, yes, big question. Big question.
Yes.
It varies significantly. If you're working for a bigger employer, sorry, let me just go back a bit. What the courts say, employer can fairly call halt after a while. If you're unavailable and unreliable at work, even for just cause, I think I even said here, if you're dying of cancer, your employer can terminate your employment eventually. But what's enough time? It's not specified. But if you're a smaller employer, it could be a shorter period of time, maybe 6 weeks. I don't know. Just there's no golden number for that. Or if you're a bigger employer, maybe 3 months. They should hold it open.
Okay.
But it's a matter of judgment on that call. But you'll find that the judiciary will make a judgment if you challenge them afterwards and say that was unjust to do it so quickly. So give me a call if you want to tomorrow, 0800 24-7 9393. Welcome to give me a call, that guy, and I will talk about it.
Okay, now I know we need to do the results of our You Be the Judge, but just quickly, if you report health and safety issues but the company does nothing about it, what can I do? There's another text that's just come in.
Wow, and it's a real live issue. I think there's more and more of this happening because people are more alert about health and safety. You can go to the WorkSafe and get a health and safety inspector to come through. I believe they're not. In fact, I gave them a rev up last time on this show that these people at WorkSafe aren't actually responding too well to these things. So feel free to give me a call, because you could take an action against your employer for disadvantage. If in fact you're in an unsafe workplace and nothing's happening, you can eventually walk off the job legally if it's really unsafe. So the Act allows you to do that.
Okay, nice. There you go. I've answered a few questions. It is Radio Live with Mike. I tell you what.
We've only got 60 seconds.
No, we can't answer this in 60 seconds. So I tell you what.
I get overtime again.
Yeah, you get overtime again. You do.
Rate and a half.
Yeah, that's right. Day and Lou. We'll come back and give you the results of You Be the Judge. If you joined us right at the start of the hour, we were talking about a Ports of Auckland situation. We put the situation to you. Some people have had some great comments on that. Was Si right in what he thought should happen here? Maybe you were right in what you thought should happen, because we do have the decision of the court, which we will share with you after the latest news, sport and weather. Once we've given you this result, we'll get into some evening talk on 0800 This Is Live. It's coming up 9 o'clock, the Max and Mike Show.
The M&M Show.
Live with Mike, it is 9:06. Thank you so much for joining us. The M&M show continuing, doing a little bit of overtime.
Isn't it cool? I'm so
M&M
excited.
overtime. There you go. It's twice in a row.
Even
now,
Grady's
isn't it?
excited.
Yep.
He's in there. He's our producer, and he was in there giving us the thumbs up before.
Yes, no, he's like, okay, cool, boys. Well, wrap it up.
Well, it's his own birthday. He's an older man now.
I know he's
That was a week now. He's a week over that age.
I know, he's getting wise as he gets older,
50,
isn't he?
55 now or something, isn't he?
Ripe old age of 20.
20.
Jeez, wish I could go back there. Jeez, I'd do things differently. I would.
Would you?
Oh, hell yes. Yeah, I would.
Oh, I don't think I would.
I think I'd try and be fitter more often.
At 20?
Yes.
It didn't matter. You just drink.
No, but that's when you're in your prime, you know.
Yeah.
You're single. If you're single and sexy and having a good time, that's what I should have done.
I think I played rugby. I think that I did that just really for social life. I wasn't very good at rugby, nor did I enjoy it. I just did it for get to have a few beers afterwards.
I would have bought a house when I was 20.
Oh no,
I would have.
How would you afford that? I could never have.
Just would have scraped together what I had and bought a crappy house somewhere.
I tell you what, I worked shift work. Weekends was rotating shifts, so all my social life was completely buried. And then I moved in a caravan down the park.
Oh, yes.
There's a local park in the town, so I put a caravan in. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That was great fun.
Bit of independence.
Oh, yeah. Felt like the man. Everyone thought you were so cool living in the park. I can say that.
No, I would have saved a bit more money, I think.
Saturday morning was rugby morning at this little town, and then one day I woke up because I'd finished work at 7 in the morning, so I'd be asleep. I woke up. Buggers were bloody trying to tow me away. They're out the front quietly trying to wind up the legs and everything.
Good fun. I like it.
Yeah.
Anyway, look, we gave you the You Be the Judge just after 8 o'clock. It was a dispute at the Ports of Auckland. Carl Finlay was the president of the Maritime Union at Ports of Auckland. On the 30th of July 2016, Mr Finlay argued in the workers' mess, which is kind of like the workers' social room, with Mr Rua, who was a co-worker and a member of the opposing union called Port Pro. So you can see there's a bit of argy-bargy here between the unions. Now, Mr Finlay suggested that the demands of the rosters system, with which Mr Rua supported, had contributed to the deaths of 2 port workers. The argument became very heated, and it is alleged that Mr Finlay had said to Mr Rua he would be the, quote, next one in a box. So a complaint was raised, and the port engaged an independent investigator. So, to cut a long story short, things escalated to the point that the matter was put before the Employment Relations Authority. The authority ordered that the port immediately discontinue any further disciplinary processes involving Mr Finlay until a full hearing could be scheduled some months later. The port appealed the Employment Authority's decision to the Employment Court. So what do you think happened next? And Si, right at the start, sent in this text going, guys, to be honest, I feel 5 months is way too long. If I'd been the judge, I would have told them to stop behaving like children and get back to work. So what actually happened?
Guess what?
Yes?
That's virtually what the judge said. In fact, I don't think the judge was too impressed of anybody in this whole regime. It was such a petty issue. Now, they may even call that. He was thinking of it. He even said in his decision about frivolous issues being before him. But he actually said that. Plus the authority member making that judgment to support it. I think he was scratching his head what was in his brain at the time. The authority member got so caught up on some other sideline detail about the death threat, as he said. He said, "Oh, that's a criminal offence. It's very, very serious and could get into another regime." And he went on and on and on and got so excited about that he demanded the port stop their rights to discipline. I think what the judge is saying, and good on, who was that texter? He said it just right.
Yes, yeah.
Si, good on you, because what the judge is saying, come before me when there's a real issue.
Yeah.
You children just grow up and get on with life down there and start, if you harden up, you're not crybabies running off to the court for looking little disciplines. Get back and sort it out yourselves.
Right, so you think that was probably common sense from the judge?
At last.
At last, I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, and I think the authority member should take real cognizance of that and have a look in terms of where he went wrong. Good guy, the authority member. He's very, very thorough, and I've great respect for him. But he does get caught and looks at details too closely sometimes rather than the big picture. The big picture said to this, it was pathetic.
Now, look, there's one more thing I want you to clear up before you go, Max. I've had a few more friends come to me recently.
You've only
that
got
have
me as a
worked-
friend, haven't you?
Well, just a few more. Yes, just a few more. You're my main one, though. But they've come to me and they've talked to me about how, I don't know, I can remember us discussing the situation a while back. The calculations of holiday pay, was it? Or the calculations that the algorithm was wrong, so therefore people are now getting paid out because they were entitled to days, and it's been going on for years that they should have.
Yep.
What was that about? Do you know?
Well, there's two matters in relation to this. I'm going to call her today, and she'd done 5 years of service as a temporary, so as a casual worker, and if you're a casual, the employer has a right to organise it with you to pay your holiday pay as you go. So you get 8% loading.
Yes.
But if your work goes beyond a year, you're entitled to 4 weeks holiday on pay again. So your employer's got to pay you twice.
Right.
That may be the point of one of them. Plus, there's another thing. No, I think maybe this is the point you're getting to, because that's been major, and I've actually got $14,000 for a guy only last week off a big company.
Well,
for
no,
that.
because I know a big company at the moment that is sorting this out with their employees, and they are a pretty big company, and it must be costing them millions, because the amount of money we're talking per employee is somewhere around the $20,000 to $25,000 mark, depending on how long they've been there. So I was just curious.
Oh, that's big, because a lot of them do have temporary employees and casuals employees and just keep them on. So the big employers are guilty of it, and they're going to go down for this. So I'm quite pleased that you and I mentioning this online has helped out a lot. The other factor was a lot of people. It's the calculation of holiday pay has been done incorrectly by the system people have used, the computers that they've been using.
Yes.
So it's usually for people that don't have a consistent hours of work. So
Okay.
people doing shift work, rotating shifts, those sort of things, it hasn't been calculating it correctly. So that may be what you're talking about, and people are welcome to ring me and just discuss with it. And what they can do is demand to see their wage and time records, and demand the Department of, I keep thinking the Department of Labour, MIMBI, to have a look at it for them. So I think that's probably the point that you're talking about. So there's two issues in that. One's the casuals that are getting paid holiday pay as they go, and the other one is people on inconsistent shifts and hours of work. They may be getting miscalculated as well.
Okay, nice work. Well, there you go. There's something for you to check. Max, thank you very much for
I
your
loved
work.
it. And
There
plus
you go.
the overtime. That's a bonus
Bit of
tonight.
overtime. Look at you. Lucky. Hey, you get a coffee and a half now, and a free one next time you're here. 13
He's
past
never
9.
bought me a coffee yet,
I know.
folks.
I know. Hey, there's a machine around the corner.
Get your own.
I'll show you how to work
You
it.
got me here on false promises.
Hey, no, absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for helping people out
Thanks for
tonight.
having me, Mike.
A bit of fun as
Grady.
always.
And Adaha, thank you.
Nice work. We'll catch you back again next week. And remember, if you do have an employment issue, jot it down. Keep it handy. Give us a call next week. We'd love to hear from you between 8 and 9 every Wednesday night. It's Radio Live.
I'm Max, the employment law expert on Radio Live.
Are we obliged to sign a new job description every year?
Text here. So I run a medium-sized business using 90-day periods. Can I terminate without reason?
In the contract, it says they can reduce anything they want. Isn't that 0 hours contract?
The employee can choose not to come in, then guaranteed hours don't apply, correct?
I'll answer all the employment questions 8 to 9 p.m. every Wednesday.
You got the facts, so talk to Max.